This is Dr. Z, Zachary Brooks, and I'm here with my friend Goodyear, and this is my podcast about bilingual decision making. Today I'm going to talk about a subject I chose for my dissertation. A dissertation is like doing homework for 2 years. It sounds like a bad decision. In some cases it is, because it certainly drives you crazy when you're doing this homework for 2 years. But in the end, I ended up with something I find super fascinating called bilingual decision making. So I'm recording this podcast from your favorite local library. It's an awesome place. Check it out sometime. So today I'm going to start geeking out about bilingual decision making and invite you to come with me and share your own thoughts about a topic I find fascinating, but even better, a topic that everyone can and does have an opinion on. The reason why is because almost all of us interact with people who come from different language and cultural backgrounds. And since we live in an interconnected world, we might as well do it very well. So once again, this is Dr. Z. Zachary Brooks with my friend Goodyear, talking about bilingual decision making. Hello, this is Dr. Z. Zachary Brooks talking about bilingual decision making, podcasting from your favorite local library. I'm here with my good friend Goodyear. So in episode 7, we looked at how mood can affect cultural bias for people using their first or their second language. Researchers were looking at both Welsh and English speakers. You might recall that cultural bias has two parts. First, we judge others, and we judge other cultures based on our own culture. So we usually judge, when we say bias, we usually mean something unfair. We'll compare others to our culture and automatically assume that the first culture, our culture, is better. But the other part is kind of interesting too. Second, you can have a bias about how a culture is supposed to behave. Let's say you go to Mexico and you expect to find tacos, but in the town you go to, you can only find tortas, which are sandwiches. Well, then you can be frustrated because you think Mexico is supposed to be a certain way, and it's not. And that would be a certain bias you have. So the researchers in Wales, they used videos to test whether a change in mood could change a person's bias. And so these videos, positive and negative, they would change a person's mood. So the question is, could a video change a person's mood, and could that mood change a person's bias? And the answer is yes, but the answer is yes only for people speaking their second language. If you're speaking your second language in a neutral mood, let's say work, you will be less culturally biased than we can speak in your first language. But when triggered watching a negative film or a positive film, you can become more culturally biased. But first language speakers tended not to have these problems. Their biases were already set, so whatever mood that was being triggered by these films didn't affect their biases. So this is kind of interesting. How does that happen? But it happens. So even though Costa way back when, I think it was episode 2 or 3, found that second language speakers were less emotional, sometimes when emotions are triggered by mood, then suddenly people who are, let's say, less biased can become more biased simply by a trigger of mood. So now we're going to kind of switch a little bit, and we're going to start talking about reading and how reading patterns can change for people who speak, in this case, read their first or their second language. And we're back. Dr. Z, Zachary Brooks, Bilingual Decision Making, episode 8. So in this episode, we're going to talk about second language readers and first language readers. Do people, when they're reading in a new language and their second language, do they do things that are different? This is not quite decision making, but it is certainly processing information. So when a person is reading in their second language, how do their eyes move across the page compared to a first language speaker's eyes? To start to answer the question, the researchers led by Liz Enkin, a professor in University of Nebraska, and in full disclosure, I was one of the researchers on this project, So to start this question, the researchers first had to decide how to study the question. So first, they, or in this case we developed 24 sentences, and we changed one word in each sentence. The word was either a high-frequency word or a low-frequency word. For example, readers would see, normalmente al chico le gusta la lluvia, pero hoy tiene frío. In this case, lluvia, rain, is the high-frequency word. So this sentence in English is, normally the boy likes rain, but today it's cold. In Spanish, normalmente al chico le gusta la lluvia, pero hoy tiene frío. And so lluvia, rain, is the high-frequency word. So that's one sentence that the participants would see. The second sentence the participants would see would be, normalmente al chico le gusta la nieve, pero hoy tiene frío. Normally the boy likes snow, but today it's cold. Normalmente al chico le gusta la nieve, pero hoy tiene frío. Normally the boy likes snow, but today it's cold. And that's the low-frequency word. So either the high-frequency word, rain, or low-frequency word, snow. The high-frequency word, in this case, lluvia, and the low-frequency word, in this case, nieve, or snow, is also context-dependent. So because this research was conducted in Arizona, we're very confident that rain is much more frequent than snow. Maybe if you're in a place like Minnesota or a northern climate, this wouldn't be the case, but that's what was certainly the case here in Arizona. So, in the course of a couple of months, we recruited 26 total people, 26 total readers, 16 beginning level readers, and 10 advanced level readers to come and participate. And I say advanced because some of those advanced were native speakers and some were non-native speakers, but very advanced readers of Spanish. So each participant had to sit in a chair and read sentences. It was very basic. So to keep things fun and to make sure that the participants were actually paying attention, filler questions were added so the subjects weren't using the yes button and just skipping through things. We actually had made sure that they were paying attention. Welcome back. Dr. Z, Zachary Brooks, Bilingual Decision Making, Episode 8. We're talking about reading today, so second language readers. And we're looking at an experiment led by Liz Inken and her colleagues from Arizona, and I was one of those colleagues. And her colleagues, Liz Inken and her colleagues, decided to study second language readers and compare them to advanced readers. So, as we said in the previous segment, 26 people participated. The researchers analyzed the results and found that both advanced and beginning readers slowed during low-frequency words compared to high-frequency words. So that means as you're reading along, your eyes are reading normally. Suddenly, your eyes come across a low-frequency word. And at that moment, all groups of readers' eyes slow down, first language readers or second language readers, which is pretty interesting. So all readers' eyes have the same three movements during reading. They either fixate on about 8 characters, which include about 3 words with blank spaces such as it is not, or words such as everything, which has 10 letters. And then after readers fixate on a characters, about 8 characters or so, then the reader's eyes jump to the next 8-character block. This jump is called a saccade. When readers make mistakes, their eyes then jump backwards to retrieve information they missed. So no matter what, readers' eyes do the same thing, and when they see a low-frequency word, both groups slow down. Makes a lot of sense. So there was no differences. However, after the low-frequency word was encountered by the readers, the advanced readers, after the low-frequency word, continued to read at a normal speed as before. However, second language readers slowed down considerably after the low-frequency word. One way to think about why someone would slow down after a low-frequency word is to think about how you are when you walk along the street. As you happily enjoy your day and you walk down the street, your shoe accidentally hits a small rock. At the moment of impact, you notice the small rock, but it doesn't bother you and it doesn't change your walking stride. But the next step, you begin to stumble. from the momentum of hitting your foot against the small rock. You may fall down, or you may just continue to stumble for a couple of paces. That's something like what's happening for second language readers. As they're reading a sentence normally, when they see the low frequency word, they're slowing down just like first language readers. But it's the next word that actually makes it is much harder for them because they're still figuring out that previous word. When they read the low frequency word, their brain takes longer to process what they're reading. By the time their eyes have jumped to the next fixation of 8 characters, they are still processing the low frequency word, which causes them to go slower on the next word. Advanced readers, they have plenty of practice with low frequency words, so even though they're coming across these words they don't see very often, it doesn't really bother the readers jumping to the next fixation. So could the same thing happen when you're listening to your second language? Maybe you're listening just fine when someone decides to use a word that's not yet in your vocabulary. And then maybe you've only heard it once or twice. So while they continue with their sentence, you are still stuck on the word that is low frequency, or the word that you've never heard before. You struggle to find its meaning or to translate it, then to go back to continue to listening to the conversation. At this point, you go slower because the one word slowed you down. Hello, this is Dr. Z, Zachary Brooks, finishing up episode 8 of Bilingual Decision Making. Thanks for tuning in to the 8th podcast. I hope you appreciate how speaking another language can help you see the world in a whole new way, and how when you speak a new language, you can make decisions that are different or the same. Sometimes different doesn't change the result, and sometimes the same is kind of fascinating. So, what does this all mean? Well, in the next episode, we're going to look at something called the Ultimatum Game and how people's behaviors can change depending if they're using their first or their second language. In the meantime, happy deciding.